Obedience is Rwandan Cowardice. Written by Gabriel Ndayishimiye. Chapter 1. Trauma-Informed Obedience. 6th. The youth are not exempt. They are the most possessed. There is a lie, and I call it a lie because it insists on hope where there is none, that the young are untouched. That time has washed the blood from their hands, even if it still stains the soil, that the children of paved roads and bank apps and glossy textbooks will somehow escape the disease that devoured their parents. They were not there, we say. They did not hold the machete or flee into the marsh or hear the voices calling for slaughter from the radio like commandments. And so we pretend they are free. But ghosts do not obey time. They travel through inheritance. The children of Rwanda do not remember the genocide. They do not need to. It remembers them. They grow up inside the shell of trauma, not as witnesses, but as inheritors of a silence too holy to touch. They learn early that certain thoughts are missing from their books, that certain names are not said, that certain sorrows must be admired but never questioned. The wound speaks to them not in screams, but in slogans, in hymns, in civic lessons, delivered with clean hands and locked eyes. It speaks through ceremonies they do not understand, but must never disrupt. It speaks in the smile they must practice when they stand for the anthem. It speaks through the performance of gratitude. They are taught the facts of history, but only as one learns a prayer by rote and without contradiction. They are told again and again that their lives were salvaged by one man, that the abyss ended with him, that their future belongs to him. It is repeated not as education, but as obligation, a moral tax on their youth. And like all repetition, it does not remain external. It seeps inward. It begins as curriculum. It ends as identity. Picture the child, 16 years old, sitting upright in a concrete school hall as Kwibuka begins again. Another year, another ritual. The same phrases fall like commandments. You are alive because of him. You are safe because of him. You owe him your future. No one says it loudly. They do not need to. The lesson is already inside. By now, it is part of their bloodstream. Kagame is no longer the head of state. He is the condition of their survival. To question him is not political. It is treason against the self. And so, when one of them begins to wonder, quietly, guiltily, if this story might be incomplete, the punishment is not a prison. It is dislocation, the feeling of being unrooted, exiled, ungrateful. To doubt is to pull away from your own family, your own village, your own face in the mirror. The government does not need to threaten them. The fear was installed long before. It is passed down like a family heirloom, polished with each retelling humming softly inside every obedient heart. What they receive is not propaganda. It is deeper than that, more intimate. Propaganda can be recognized and resisted. This cannot. It comes dressed as mourning. It arrives as inheritance. It is loyalty without consent, devotion without choice. They do not even know it is happening. That is its brilliance. That is its cruelty. Fanon spoke of how the colonized internalize their masters. In Rwanda, the internalization is of something even more relentless, not the colonizer, but the redeemer. They are taught not only to recall the horror, but to recall it correctly, to grieve in the approved direction, to channel every pain into gratitude, every uncertainty into obedience. Their grief is managed. Their remembrance is engineered. Their innocence is not preserved, it is redirected. The official story is sealed. There were victims, there were saviors, there was deliverance. Nothing else must be added. Nothing else must be asked. No other graves must be remembered. No shadow must be traced. And if something aches inside them, something they cannot name, it must be silenced. The performance of unity demands it, and performance, performed long enough, becomes selfhood. There is nowhere to ask, what price was paid to build this peace? What griefs were never spoken? What ghosts were buried alive? The children do not ask, not because they are blind, but because they have learned better. They are disciplined not by the gun, but by the story. They carry the future not in their hands, but in their sleep. And even their dreams are patrolled. So they do not ask. They do not speak. They understand early the invisible math that governs survival. It is whispered, in the way a teacher praises one essay but not another. It is learned when a careless comment at a bus stop is met with silence that is too sharp, too sudden. It is learned when a question at a debate is answered not with dialogue, but with a tightening of eyes, a clenching of the air itself. They learn to navigate by instinct, like animals raised in a house with rules no one speaks aloud. They master the grammar of state-approved optimism. They hashtag Vision 2050 without thinking. They quote Kagame at debate tournaments not because they are ordered to, but because by then it has already become reflex. They wear Imbuto foundation shirts to charity drives. They talk brightly of careers in digital entrepreneurship, in sustainable development, in the glittering future they have been taught to envision. In public, they shine. In private, they may carry questions, but questions are cumbersome, and silence is aerodynamic. Some go further still. They become champions of the dream. They are selected, polished, displayed. They stand behind microphones at diaspora conferences. They give speeches in London, in New York, in Johannesburg, smiling into camera flashes. They tell the story of Rwanda's miraculous resurrection, and they mean every word because meaning it is easier than doubting it, and because doubting it even for a moment would mean standing alone on the other side of a chasm no one else acknowledges. They become proof, exported proof, that Rwanda works. They are not coerced. They are not naive. They are surviving. Yet beneath it, something stirs, something small and shaking and desperate. This generation did not see the blood, but they breathed the surveillance. They did not hear the machetes, but they hear the silence, the careful absences, the conversations that veer abruptly into safer waters. They scroll their phones with one eye on the news feed and one eye on the invisible hand that might reach out and seize them if they linger on the wrong post too long. They know the rules, though no one writes them down. They know which words fractured dreams. They know what happened to Kizito Mihigo. They know without needing to say it, and they know better than to say it. This is the wound stitched inside them. They are the most visibly proud generation Rwanda has ever raised, and the most spiritually confined. They wave the flag with one hand and carry inherited fear in the other. They speak of progress, but breathe the atmosphere of precaution. They are post-genocide by birth and post-trauma by design. The war that built their country has ended, but another war, quieter and harder to name, continues inside them every day. The tragedy is not that they believe the story. The tragedy is that they must.